What's up, you guys? I'm live on TikTok answering astrology questions. If you're seeing this on YouTube, you guys are catching the live replay. So let's see what questions the people have for us tonight. Hello. Welcome to all the people joining. If you guys have astrology or metaphysical questions about your natal charts, feel free to comment below. Hi there. Welcome to all the people joining. I'm answering astrology questions about your natal charts, and metaphysical questions. So if you guys have questions about any of those things, feel free to comment below. Welcome to all the people joining. I'm answering astrology questions about your natal charts. So if you guys have any questions, you guys can feel free to comment below. You can definitely take a look at your natal chart if you have any questions about your moon sign, your sun sign, your rising sign. There's a bunch of things on your natal chart that you can definitely feel free to comment below. I'm doing well, LOL. How are you doing? Welcome to all the people joining. I'm answering astrology and metaphysical questions. So if you guys have questions about your natal charts or anything in astrology, feel free to comment below. Nice, you're Sagittarius. Cool. Welcome to all the people joining. I'm answering astrology questions. So if you guys have questions about your natal chart, anything to do with astrology or the metaphysical world in general, feel free to comment below. Person who, oh yes, okay, I'm seeing all your questions coming in. Let me just go in order. So Araya wants to know, can you talk about what square, sextile, conjunct means and degrees? Thank you. Yes, so a squaring aspect is going to be anything that's a 90-degree angle to your sign. So let's say you are a Scorpio, your squaring aspects are going to be Leo or Aquarius. Conjuncting is when it's in the same sign or house. So let's say you have your moon in Scorpio, is going to be conjuncting maybe your Mercury in Scorpio. That's when it's in the same sign. Let's see, what else are you guys saying in here? 1 second. A person who is Aries sun, Pisces moon, and Cancer rising. Very interesting combination because the Aries sun is going to make this person fiery. Hey, that Miles Marion, miss you too. How are you doing? The Aries sun is going to make the person very fiery. They might be argumentative. They might be very confrontational. That could be kind of like that first impression, kind of what's going on the surface. But underneath it all, you're going to have the Pisces moon going on. So this person can be very emotional, very intuitive, very sensitive to energy. They can be very psychic. They can be very creative. They can be very much connected to the other side. Same thing with Cancer rising. They're going to be very caring. They're going to be very caring. They're going to be very nurturing. That's going to be the first impression that they basically give to the world. Hey, Luminous Mind. How are you doing? Gemini rising and Mercury in Capricorn, 8th house. You're going to be highly intelligent with the Mercury in Capricorn in the 8th house. Always thinking 10 steps ahead. You're always playing chess, not checkers. Also, money is always going to be on your mind. Gemini rising usually tends to get by in life based on their connections, and they have to work in jobs where they're talking. That's the thing. They can't be in like a silent 8 hours a day, just typing away type of job. Hey, I'm so glad that you're doing well. Hey, Cody, how are you guys all doing? Your moon is in the 8th house. Is that bad? No, it's not bad. You're going to be psychic. You might have mediumship abilities with the moon in the 8th house. You're going to be very clairsentient. Gemini rising. Yeah, it's true. Gemini rising basically gets by in life based on their connections, who they know, and like making friends with like the random people. And it's like, let's say you're in a store and you're chatting someone up and it turns out that person's a manager and they're hiring. This is kind of how Gemini rising gets by. Let's see, what else are you guys seeing in here? Saturn in the 8th house. Thanks so much for the follows. Saturn in the 8th house, it's in Pisces. Any thoughts? You're going through your Saturn return right now. 8th house deals with all things to do with sex, death, rebirth, joint finances, the occult, astrology. When you have Saturn in the 8th house, you could struggle with your vulnerability, with your emotional world. That's very much Saturn in the 8th house. Let's see. Do you know much about the moon phases and their meanings? Hold on one second. I'm just going back up. Then Miles Marion, you said you're okay. And I'm doing well. You said, how's retrograde Mercury treating you so far? It's definitely been interesting. I've definitely been picking up on a lot of the delays that Mercury does bring through. Let's see. You don't know what to do about your Pisces moon in the 10th. Once again, 10th house wants to be... Oh my gosh, so many people keep requesting to go live. If the video pauses, that's what's taking place. So Pisces moon in the 10th house, basically you want to elevate your financial status. You want to, go into positions where it's like you're making money. That's the thing. That's what the 10th house is. It's conjuncting your midheaven. But the whole struggle here is because it is conjuncting the midheaven. I'm curious to know if you have Pisces occupying the whole 10th house overall, and if your midheaven is actually in the sign of Pisces, because in this situation, you could have blurs when it comes to your career. You might not know what career you want to do, or you might daydream a lot about it. You might be interested in being an artist, something of the sort. Thanks so much for the rose. You're welcome, Brenda. I'm so glad that resonated. Definitely check out my YouTube channel, you guys. It's called Barbara Talks. I go more in depth on there. If you're interested in Saturn through the houses, I have a video on Saturn in the 8th house. Mercury, your Mercury, so how you communicate is in Pisces. Is your Mercury in Pisces? Resonating, you'll check me out. Yes, definitely check it out. It's called Barbara Talks. I'm pretty sure I think I have Mercury through the houses on there actually. Or do I have Mercury in the signs? I don't remember, but I do have Saturn through the houses on there. Aquarius is your midheaven and your sun is in the 9th house. Okay. Brenda says Venus and Mars in the 4th house and it's in Scorpio. Can you tell me if your IC is in the sign of Scorpio as well? So Venus and Scorpio is interesting. Is like, they say that, Venus is in the detriment here because it's like Venus is all about love and it's also ruled by Taurus and ruled by Libra as well. But Scorpio is going to be the oppositional energy in there. Honestly, the thing is, if you master this energy, it's not going to be that much of a struggle, but it can be a struggle earlier on when it's like, you might be possessive of people, you might be codependent, like things like this when it comes to relationships. Because Venus and Scorpio, when they find someone that resonates, they like want to hold on to that person forever. Yes, your IC is in Scorpio. Very, very interesting. So in your home when you were growing up, okay, so you have all of this now conjuncting your IC, which is conjuncting the home. So in the home, okay, when you were growing up, there could have been some sort of secrets or something that wasn't clear, or some sort of manipulation. It could have been emotional manipulation. It could have been emotional neglect, even when you have Scorpio in the 4th house. So it's interesting because it's like then you have Scorpio Venus, and if you have maybe struggles when it comes to your relationships, you would have to basically go and see what took place in the home. A lot of the time, Scorpio basically is clearing karma with the mother is really what that is, or whoever was the dominant feminine role in your life. Let's see what else you guys saying in here. What do you think about Vedic astrologers saying Western astrology is BS? I don't think that that's like professional. Like, I think everyone should respect each other's viewpoints. You know what I mean? And I think everyone should be open to everyone's viewpoints because I think that there's truth in everything. Araya says, can you discuss Mercury and Scorpio, Mars and Virgo? Yes, I like actually both of those placements. Mercury and Scorpio is going to make you highly intelligent. You're always going to be 10 steps ahead with the Mercury and Scorpio. Mars and Virgo is going to be a very grounded way when it comes to going about your goals. When it comes to even conflict, you're not going to be explosive. You might think about it a lot. That could be one downfall though for Mars and Virgo. It's like, when it comes to conflict, you could like think about it and like very much overthink it. and then maybe not even resolve the conflict. That could be something that takes place. But when it comes to actually going after your goals, you're going to be very good at that, because it's like this earth plane, I find it to be very Virgo like. It's all about repetition, practice makes perfect. So having Mars in here, that's going to kind of be like your tactics, you know, your strategy. You're welcome. Let's see what else you guys saying in here. North node in Scorpio, that means your south node is in Taurus. So in a past life, it could have been a very material lifetime for you. It could have been very much earthly. It could have been very much about luxury. It could have been all about luxurious vacations and really building. That's what your past life was all about. So it's kind of like you kind of master that if you think about it, right? Because that's what the south node is. It's where you've been. So the north node is where you're going. So they say that once we complete the north node, we cross out of the earth plane. But what tends to happen is a lot of people tend to fall toward the south node. So you might find yourself currently going after maybe like building things and wealth and material things. And it doesn't mean that, you know, this lifetime's not about material things for you. That's not what that means. It just means that it's scorpionic, where it's like you might now be into energy and manifestation, and you might fall into fast money, something to watch out for. Actually, for North Node and Scorpio, you could be into astrology or the occult, the metaphysical world. It's basically all about like the different things in life, the hidden things. Oh, yay. I'm so glad that you like my content. Yes, you guys definitely check out my YouTube channel. It's called Barbara Talks. What are your thoughts on Chiron, Pluto, 5th house, Sagittarius? Yes, so that's the area that you're healing through. So you're going to be healing through Sagittarius-like things, which is going to be things to do with traveling, moving around. It could be foreign languages, foreign cultures. If you're not traveling, it could be maybe wherever you're living. Maybe you're like a tour guide or like showing people around like you know, the city that you live in, things like this. They could also go that way as well, where you are meeting foreign people. So it's either you go abroad and you meet foreign people, or the foreign people come to you and this is how you meet them. But that's Chiron in the sign of Sagittarius. In the 5th house, you're basically healing through the creative world. So you basically have to express yourself creatively. You're welcome. Do you think it's too heavy to have Moon in Cancer in the 12th house? I mean, it's going to be hardcore because you're going to pick up on everything around you. You're going to be super, super psychic. There's going to be a lot of karma to clear in terms of your emotional world. And then also a lot of karma to clear surrounding the mother with the Moon in Cancer. So let's see. So what about North Node, Moon, Pluto, and Scorpio in the 2nd house? So is all of that conjuncting for you in Scorpio in the 2nd house? Very interesting. So that means your life purpose, you're transforming through it, and it's directly connected to your emotional world. So it's kind of like if you're not emotionally invested, maybe in a job or whatever it is that you're doing, it's going to be hard because it's like you don't feel like you're about it. You know what I mean? That's all about the Moon conjuncting the North Node, because it's like Moon conjuncting North Node is like you have to kind of feel like you're, you know, completing something, like you're basically serving some sort of purpose. That's the whole thing with Moon conjunct North Node. And then Pluto in here, that means it's going to be transformational. What I will also say for Pluto in the 2nd house is that you're going to transform a lot through your finances. Let's see. Have you noticed any sun signs tend to clash? Honestly, in natal charts, there's so much going on in terms of synastry. So with just the sun signs, really depends. Honestly, I would say it really depends on the rest of the person's natal chart to see what's going on. Sun, you have South Node conjunct Moon in the 7th house of Aquarius. So for you in a past life, it could have been all about relationships. And it's interesting because now your emotional world is directly connected to your past life. That's the South Node. So you could be carrying over karma, maybe some sort of unresolved emotional things surrounding relationships that you've carried over from a past life that you might have to resolve in order maybe to feel more complete in that department. It can also be friends, though. The 7th house can also be friends as well. 7th house, having Aquarius in the 7th house is very interesting because it's like the 7th house wants to constantly be in a unit. They always want to have a partner or a best friend, or they want to have some sort of like, you know, person with them. They feel more complete. But then Aquarius is going to be a little bit more detached. You're going to have a little bit more like relief from that constant, I guess you can even say codependent energy. Having Moon in the 7th house, definitely watch out for codependencies, the fear of being alone, narcissistic dynamics, because it's like, again, you know, Moon in the 7th house feels more complete when it's in a unit. So it's like sometimes these people settle for people that maybe they shouldn't even be with because they don't want to be alone. Let's see. Welcome to everyone joining. Feel free to comment below anything about your natal charts. If you guys have any questions. Stop Taking Life So Serious 1990. Welcome back. You said, is there any benefit in having and having Mercury, Venus, Saturn, Neptune in the 8th house, Gemini rising here. Thanks. Oh my gosh, there's so many Gemini risings in here. So having all of that in the 8th house, you're probably going to have mediumship abilities. You're probably going to be very intuitive, clairsentient. You're probably going to notice like the subtleties when it comes to energies. You know, maybe you might say to yourself, oh, I'm not a medium like right now, but it could be something that's kind of like benign and you can kind of exercise that if you really focused on it. You definitely are going to pick up on like the subtle shifts in energy. If anyone's ever interested in like the psychic world, the psychic realms, mediumship and all these things, the thing is, my suggestion is learn your own energy first, because then you'll notice when the energy starts to shift and there's something that's different than your own energy. What I will say, having all of that in the 8th house, definitely watch out for codependencies, enmeshment with other people, these types of things as well. And then you have Neptune in there. So there could be something that's not clear when it comes to your sexuality. There could also be a lot of karma overall when it comes to your sexuality because of Saturn in there. Mercury in the 8th house is going to be highly, highly intelligent though, I will say that much. Gemini rising, I'll also say that basically you get by. Oh, thank you. Definitely check out my YouTube channel, you guys. It's called Barbara Talks. Gemini rising gets by in life based on their connections. Okay, you guys? So definitely talk to people, just be your friendly selves, you know, be out there networking, because the thing is, like, next thing that you know, it's going to be like this person connected you to that person, and then boom, you got a job or you got an opportunity or whatever it is that you guys are interested in doing. Let's see, I'm just going back up. I will get to everyone. Araya says, is it good to have the same rising sign and north node? So you have your north node and your rising in the sign of Leo. Yes, it's a smooth energy because it's kind of like what you're presenting to the world, which is your rising, and it's your first house, is your identity, it's your ego. It's in tandem, okay? It's conjuncting the Leo, right? So the north node, I mean. So it's like your life purpose is connecting to this. And what I will say, I'm guessing that you have your north node in the first house. Let me know if that is correct, because that means this lifetime is going to be all about the self. LOL says most of the planets are 5th through the 10th house. Very interesting. What else are you guys saying in here? Oh my gosh, hey, TikToker, yay. Oh, you're so very welcome. Okay, JK Miri says Saturn in Pisces in the 5th house. So you are going through your Saturn return. So having Saturn in the 5th house, this means that, you know, you could have had a father figure in your life, or whoever was the dominant masculine role basically suppressed the area of creativity for you. So maybe now during this time, you're now blossoming in this area. You know, there's going to be changes, or maybe you're purging, like things are coming to the surface for you, where it's like maybe you wanted to be creative, you weren't able to be creative because of whoever was the authoritative role. Sometimes Saturn in the 5th house, it's interesting. It really depends. It can go a few ways, because it's like sometimes these people can have children when they're young, or they can have children that are very far apart in age. So they can have maybe one child when they're young and then one way later, or they can also choose to not have children at all. It kind of depends on the rest of the karma. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy you love my YouTube videos. Definitely check it out. It's called Barbara Talks. Let's see what else you guys saying in here. Saturn transiting your 7th house. What does that mean? You could have changes in your relationships, fish. Or you can maybe go through a breakup if you are already in a relationship, although I don't want to speak that into existence for you, but it's definitely going to be changes in relationships, friendships, things coming to the surface, like karmic clearance is basically what that is. Let's see, what else are you guys saying in here? Yeah, yes, exactly. If you're a Leo rising, the North Node should technically be in the 1st house. Let's see what else you guys saying in here. Welcome to all the people joining. Let me know if you guys have questions about your natal charts, astrology, metaphysics, the metaphysical world. If any of you guys in here are interested in learning more about Scorpio energy, 8th house energy, I have a whole playlist on that, and I have a whole playlist on Pisces and 12th house as well. People who are super into astrology are usually Scorpionic 12th house types of people, or the 8th house. Sorry, Scorpionic 8th house people, or Piscean 12th house types of people. Let me know if you guys have any other questions. Feel free to comment below. Virgo, Mercury in the 2nd house conjuncting your sun. So basically, your ego and the way that you think are going to be in tandem. A lot of people have this conjunction, sun conjunct Mercury. It's actually very, very common. I can't remember the percentage, But yeah, it's very common to have that conjunction. Now, what's interesting is this might tell you about how you think in terms of also like you might get your mind from the father as well because of the Virgo energy. Let's see. Do people get into relationships during their Saturn 7th house transits? There's going to be changes in relationships. So are you going through your Saturn return, Vish? Because if you have, or are you just going through a Saturn 7th house transit? Venus in the 12th house, you're going to have a lot of past life lovers or past life enemies coming through as lovers. So it can be your friends, it can be your lovers. You're going to have a lot of karmic clearance with these individuals. And usually it takes up until, I would say, it depends on the degree of your Venus, because it's like the Venus sign changes approximately every 25 years in secondary progressions. So around that time, depending on the degrees, you might have progressed out of the Venus into the first house. Oh, you're just going through the 7th house transit. Yeah, there's going to be just changes around your relationships. Even if you do maybe get into a dynamic, it could be maybe something karmic or you're clearing karma with this person. But overall, it's karmic clearance with relationships. So it can be friends, it can be lovers, these types of people. Midheaven, yes. Do you have your Midheaven Araya in Taurus? Midheaven, so they say that Midheaven is your career, but the thing is, it's like, it's going to give you more so like the vibe of the career rather than the actual career. For career, you kind of have to look at everything and all the combinations that are taking place in your natal chart. So the midheaven, basically, if you have Taurus in here, it's going to be Taurus-like jobs, okay? So you probably want to be working in a job where you are building towards something, where you're achieving wealth. It could be a luxurious type of, job, or maybe a job that achieves you a certain type of luxury, okay? That's Taurus. Or it could be something that's like beautifying something, making something look better and prettier. You could also work with money, because Taurus deals with money as well. Okay, so that's Taurus midheaven. Now, what I also will say for the midheaven overall, it's also how you present yourself to the world, okay, because it's your 10th house. So it's like when you have Taurus in here, your vibe, okay, to the world, to the public, let's say you're posting on social media, or maybe you're a public figure, or you're working in a public job, is going to be very Taurus-like. So stable, building, slow and steady wins the race, non-threatening. That's very Taurus energy. You're welcome, Vish. Midheaven is in Virgo in the 10th house. Any good tips? Yes. Okay, what I'll tell you guys about the midheaven as well. So here's some like tricks of the trade. So to basically activate the midheaven in the 10th house, you have to look at the 9th house, okay? So the 9th house is going to tell you the types of people that you guys are learning from, okay? So depends if you're looking at the Placidus system or if you're looking at the whole sign system, because sometimes the 9th house can, let's say, also be Virgo if it is Placidus and maybe you have 2 signs occupying 2 houses, okay? But let's say in your situation, Virgo's in the 10th house and maybe you have Leo in your 9th house. So you're learning from Leo-like people, you're learning from Leo-like traits. And these types of people are basically teaching you how you can activate the 10th house. So putting yourself out there, being, very loud and theatrical. Like that's kind of who you are learning from. Now, another thing with the 10th house, also what I'll tell you guys in the midheaven, you always want to look at the 4th house, which is your IC. You guys kind of want to look at the natal chart as a progression, okay? So you have the houses from 1 until 12, and basically the 10th house is almost at the end. So that's the thing, even with career, it's kind of like, it's something that you're building towards, right? That's the 10th house. That's that Capricorn energy. That's the Capricorn energy is the 10th house, right? So it's like you're building towards something. You are working towards something. So there's definitely going to be trials and tribulations. Also, what I will say, because you asked for Virgo specifically in the 10th house, when it comes to the type of job or the type of environment, it's going to have to be something that is very much, analytical maybe, or something that, where you're doing like an aesthetic, or it's very clean looking. It really depends on the rest of your natal chart. You could be interested in, let's say, like photography, right? And like your photos have a very specific clean look, it's like very Virgo-like. Same thing for posting on social media for Virgos, right? When Virgos post on social media, when Virgo in the 10th house posts on social media, these people are going to basically want people to think that they're very competent, to think that they know everything. Like they're not going to put information out there just to like make content, for example, right? They're only going to put things out there if they feel as though this information is going to benefit people, if it's clear and researched. If they're posting photos, they're probably going to have to like be perfect types of photos. There's going to be like a vibe on like the feed for Virgo midheaven and these types of things. Welcome to all the people joining. If you guys have questions about your astrology charts, your natal charts, feel free to comment below. Does Jupiter trine ascendant affect a person's appearance like other aspects? Interesting. I'm not sure. You're welcome. Thoughts on having a lot of natal retrograde planets? Yes, you have Uranus, Pluto, Neptune, and Chiron. A lot of the time when I look at someone's natal chart and I see a lot of retrograde planets, what this signifies to me is this person's coming back for another lifetime. Like they're basically redoing their lifetime. So for me, when I say like it's a redoing type of lifetime, it's if I see, let's say, 3 or more retrograde planets. But retrograde planets can signify many different things as well. You could be relearning the lesson of that particular planet, maybe something you didn't get to complete in a past life. You're coming back to learn that lesson again. So for you, if you have retrograde Uranus, it could be surrounding your individuality being different, your ideas. Maybe you weren't able to express these types of different ideas in a past life. You're coming through to complete that type of energy in this lifetime. Another thing with retrograde planets as well is like this energy is more so internalized, because whenever there is a retrograde happening in the world overall, basically we are experiencing the energy more so internally, because retrograde makes you reflect, it makes you restart, reset, like all these things, all the RE words. So it's more so an internalized energy versus externalized. So it's like now you might have to work a little harder to pull the energy out. So for example, Uranus retrograde, your ideas, it might be a struggle for you to pull them out, you know, to actually express them. You might struggle with like, okay, I'm going to pitch it now, but like the timing might be off because it's like the energy could be a little bit more suppressed. It's internalized. Retrograde Pluto, in a nutshell, I'm kind of giving you just the overall idea. If you want to learn more, you can check out my YouTube channel. It's called Barbara Talks. I have retrograde planets on there. But retrograde Pluto can be maybe even resistance to transformation and changing and these types of things. Neptune retrograde can be even more of that Neptunian energy, so even more fog. And then Chiron retrograde can basically be something that you're healing through in this lifetime that maybe you weren't able to heal through in a past life. Let's see. How did you become so knowledgeable in astrology? You don't know what books to buy, LOL. Honestly, okay, this is how I learned astrology, okay? Basically, I started with myself, probably how everybody else does. I looked at my signs and everything and what that means. And then it's like, I'm very scorpionic, right? So it's like, then I start investigating for everyone around me. And then for me, I kind of start creating like a energetic matching repertoire. So it's like, when I would learn Mercury and this means this, I would connect it to somebody that I know that maybe has their Mercury and that. I would really like analyze and see, okay, yes, how does this person think? Okay, yes, that matches, that doesn't match. That's kind of how I would learn. So it's like, basically creating this like whole energetic repertoire, and then you're like building on it, because there's like the basics of astrology, but it's like you basically have to, it has to make sense, you know what I mean? It has to make sense to you. Let's see what else you guys saying. I've seen that you can predict how you meet your partner based on where Jupiter is. Honestly, there's a lot of different ways. You can also look at your Juno, you can look at your Venus, you can look at the ruler, the 7th house ruler. There's a lot of different ways. Let's see. There's somebody else up here that I didn't answer. Okay, Vish says, you said your Jupiter is your 8th house Aries. You were told your husband could be a sneaky, like, oh my gosh, that is so funny. That's so funny. I can see that, because having Aries in the 8th house can be like quickies and things like that. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Let's see. All of your planets are from the 1st house to the 7th house only. Yes, that happens. Usually I've noticed that planets occupy kind of like a quadrant in a natal chart. So I guess for you, it goes from the 1st house to the 7th house. Basically they say like when you have planets in a certain house, like if it's empty, like the empty houses are houses that you've already mastered in a past life. So you're not learning those lessons again. Or you've already done it, or you've already maybe played that character or whatever it is, right? So it's like in this lifetime, you're more focused in a particular area. Let's see. You're welcome, Bish. What else are you guys saying in here? Checking now, your birth chart says that you have Scorpio. So your 12th house is occupied by Scorpio. That's really interesting, because it's kind of like any psychic information that you receive, you're going to be very scorpionic about it. You're going to be like investigating, you know, like investigating, like, okay, how does this make sense? You're going to kind of like feel into it. That's kind of like having Scorpio in the 12th house. Also, you guys, for 12th house overall, well, the 12th house can tell you so many things, but another thing the 12th house can tell you is how you behave unconsciously. So it's like if you have Scorpio in your 12th house, you can behave like a Scorpio unconsciously without realizing. So that can also take place. You're welcome. Your Venus is at the 12th house in Sagittarius. Could you explain, because you got a bit confused? Okay, so you have Venus, you're looking at the Placid system. I'm guessing so your Venus is in the 12th house and it's in Sag. That's really interesting because it's like Venus and Sag, they're known to be like the bachelor or the bachelorette of the zodiac. But it doesn't mean that they're going to be single forever. It just means that these people can take a while to actually commit to someone. You might need people, or the person that you are dating needs to be like, you know, allows you to have your space and your freedom and these types of things. Having Venus in the 12th house though, like you're going to have a lot of karmic clearance that you're clearing through people. So having Venus in Sag, maybe you'll have a lot of like encounters or people that you date that basically are past life enemies coming through as lovers. But it doesn't necessarily have to be this. It can also be your friends, okay? So the Venus can also be friends if it's not, let's say, your lovers. Welcome to the people joining. I'm answering astrology questions. Jupiter is in the 11th house of Cancer. Jupiter in the 11th house can have a large following online, okay? So that's something that can take place for Jupiter in the 11th house. You can also potentially meet your partner online as well. Having Jupiter in Cancer, basically Cancerian like things, this is where you're expanding. So, you know, maybe it can also be how you bring through abundance. So maybe like a cooking channel, for example, like let's say this is what you're doing online. You are teaching people about cooking and these types of things, something like that. Or maybe interior design, something like this. Or maybe just in general, you work from home and this brings you abundance. It can be things like this. Real estate as well. Oh my gosh, yay. I'm so glad that you like them. That Miles Marianne, thank you for the confirmation. Let's see, Jupiter in the 11th house, Cancer. We did you said is Aquarius. You've been told at work. You've been told at work and he's foreign. Can you please reword that? What else are you guys saying in here? Jupiter first house is in Scorpio, so you can make money through the self when you have Jupiter in the first house. So it can be through like, you know, videos like this. Okay, that's Jupiter in the first house. Or it can be, you know, like modeling or something like that. Obviously, it depends on the rest of your natal chart. It can be through dance. It can be through construction. Like, let's say you're a construction worker. That can be Jupiter in the first house. You can work in retail, things like this where you're moving. Okay, and it's like your physical self is what's bringing you the abundance, and you have to be seen. And it's interesting that you have your first house in Scorpio. Let me know if your first house is overall occupied by Scorpio, because Scorpio is going to want to hide and Scorpio is going to want to be like hidden, but it's like the karma here is that you have to be physically seen. Let's see. We're answering astrology questions, natal chart questions, and metaphysical questions if you guys have any. Astrology was always says you love learning about the 12th house. You have Mercury and North Node in Cancer. Yes, definitely check out my YouTube channel, you guys. It's called Barbara Talks. I have a whole playlist on Pisces and the 12th house. Let's see, you said, sorry, that was regarding meeting your partner. Jupiter in the 11th house, Cancer, empty 7th house in Aquarius. Yes, this person can definitely be different. Let's see. First house is in Libra, but Jupiter is in Scorpio. Oh, okay, so you are a Libra rising. Interesting. Let's see. North Node is in the 10th house. So in this lifetime, you're here to work with the public. It can be a public role. It can be a public job. It can be a government job. It can be things like this. It can be anything with the public. Okay, that's North Node in the 10th house. 4th house is the South Node, right? So it's like you might have a push-pull where it's like you kind of want to be in private, but it's like the North Node is always going to pull you to be public. Let's see. Welcome, welcome, welcome to all the people joining. Let's see. I'm just going back up to see who I may have missed. Brenda says Jupiter in Capricorn in the 6th house. So you can make abundance through 6th house like things. So this is health, healing, being of service. That is on a range. Okay. So let's say you're interested in being a doctor. That could be something. You could be interested in being a plastic surgeon. Maybe something like this as well. Okay. You could be interested in Reiki. Okay. If maybe you're into like alternative healing or just having some sort of healing practice, or maybe being a veterinarian or doing like a dog walking business. That could also bring you through abundance. 6th house like things. Anytime you're being of service, okay? Maybe even customer service, you know? That's that 6th house. Maybe even a personal trainer, actually, with the 6th house energy in there, okay? And the Jupiter. So all these things are going to activate abundance because Jupiter is expanding this area for you. Having Jupiter in Capricorn is kind of like, you know, you're going to be interested in elevating your status. So it's expanding that area for you as well. You might be interested in surrounding yourself by wealthy people, maybe doing something like working at like a golf club or like a country club. Because it's like for Capricorn, you guys, this is the whole thing with Capricorn energy. So when you have Capricorn in your natal chart, it's like the wealth and like everything you're working toward usually comes later on in life because Capricorn, Saturn, 10th house basically makes you guys work toward elevating your status, okay? In regular astrology, they say it's the second half of your life. But overall, I like to be more optimistic. I like to see it as the frequency of the planet's higher, everything's happening faster, people are learning their Saturn karmic lessons sooner, so it could happen sooner. So the thing is, what I've noticed with Capricorn energy, it's like these people, because they have the desire to elevate their social status, when they're younger, they can very much surround themselves by wealthy people, okay? They might be interested in working like designer stores, you know, like let's say they're interested in retail, for example. Well, it's going to be a designer retail store, things like this, where they're surrounded by wealthy people because they're trying to elevate the financial status. They're kind of learning from them subconsciously without even realizing. Let's see, what else are you guys saying in here? First house is in Libra. Oh, yes. And you said your Jupiter is in Scorpio and it's in the first house. Yes, yes, yes. So you are a Libra rising. So is your second house occupied by Scorpio? Let me know. Vanessa says Scorpio Venus in the 11th house. Yes, you're going to definitely like the luxurious things in life with the Scorpio Venus. Okay, you're going to be after that money. Okay, you might not be aware of it though. That's the whole thing. It's like the Scorpio Venus energy. It's like they might be secretly desiring these things. Let's see. Also, Venus in the 11th house can be money through the internet as well. It's also a wealth placement, I will say that much. Moon in the 10th house, you could have dreams of like, you know, making a lot of money and being wealthy and, you know, having like a very abundant and successful career. Like that's Moon in the 10th house. You're welcome. Definitely check out my YouTube channel. It's called Barbara Talks. Is there any meaning if you and your partner have the same rising and 7th house placements in the same planets? Wow, very interesting. It could be like a karmic dynamic, or maybe you guys are healing, you know, through this area together. That could be something that's taking place. Maybe you're holding space for each other to heal. You're welcome. Oh yes, you have second house. Okay. What I'll tell you about the second house on Scorpio, like I don't even want to call it a secret, but I don't know, a life hack. Okay, whatever. So second house Scorpio, you can make money through Scorpio-like things. Okay, so it can be sex, death, rebirth, joint finances, taxes, the occult. So this can be on a huge range, right? You can be a sex therapist. You can be a therapist overall. You can be a psychologist. You can be in the financial industry. You can be, you know, like telling people how to manifest and teaching them about these types of things. Astrology, right? These types of things can be ways that you can make money. So for money, you guys, you can look at a lot of things in your natal chart, the second house being one of them. Okay, I'm just going back up. Wait, so first DJ Billy Boy, you said there's a lot of karmic themes with us and it makes sense. Yes, exactly. Let's see. Jupiter in Cancer in the 7th house. I find, okay, so Jupiter in the 7th house can make money after marriage as well, or when they get into some sort of long-term union, or just like a commitment of some sort, okay? It can be through your spouse. Basically, after you are in a relationship or some sort of serious commitment, you can feel, you know, more settled, you know, more stable even, right? And then this can activate abundance for you. It can also be through business deals, business negotiations. Having Jupiter in Cancer can be through Cancerian-like things. It can be through food, real estate, homes overall, maybe renovations, interior design, anything to do with the home. Working from home even can be something. Let's see, I am just going back up. I will get to all of your questions. Capricorn 4th house. Capricorn 4th house is a little bit hardcore. A few things can take place when you have Capricorn 4th house. Can you let me know if your IC is in Capricorn as well? Okay, when you have Capricorn in the 4th house, the roles could have been reversed between the parents. The mother could have taken on the father role or the breadwinner role. Okay, that could have taken place. The mother could have been cold or just absent emotionally when you have Capricorn in the 4th house. There could have been a huge focus on money when it comes to your home. There could have been a huge focus on like elevating status when it comes to your home, these types of things, okay? You could have taken on a lot of responsibility from a young age when you have Capricorn in the 4th house. This can be on a range. It can be maybe you taking care of your siblings. Maybe you were the oldest, or maybe there's a family business. You had to start working at a young age. Whatever it is, there's a lot of responsibility placed upon the Capricorn 4th house person. Let's see. Yay! You're welcome, Vanessa. I'm so glad that you enjoyed it. Let's see. Moon trine Venus. Fish says thoughts on Virgo rising Gemini sun / moon. In the 10th house, thoughts on Virgo rising, Gemini, sun / moon in the 10th house. That's a lot of mental energy, a lot of thinking. Virgo rising sometimes has like royalty vibes attached to them, especially if the 12th house is in Leo. Okay, they could have been royalty in a past life, so they can kind of like expect people to kiss the floor that they walk on. That could be Virgo rising vibes. But overall, there's like a royalty energy connected to them. I'm going to say only if they have the 12th house in Leo though, okay, for Virgo rising. Gemini, sun / moon in the 10th house. So money's on your mind. These people can work with the public when you have sun and moon in the 10th house. Sometimes it's one 10th house placement, but sometimes I've noticed people who have sun, sometimes people who have Mercury. So sun, Mercury can be working with the public for sure. I've seen people have that, but at least maybe 2 10th house placements. You're going to be working with the public or interested in working with the public in one way, shape, or form. You could also be interested in being a politician with the Gemini energy as well. Always wanting to work. That's exactly what it is. Work is on your mind. It's all about efficiency, and basically like these people, like the 10th house people, Capricorn people, or people who are like dominated by Saturn, like for them, it's all about efficiency. So like, let's say there's like an event going on, right? The only reason they're going to go to that event is to make connections, to basically help them get to where they're trying to go. Like they're not going to go to a random meetup, for example, where it's like, oh, go to this meetup to learn, you know, this. Like if it's not benefiting them in terms of their career or their goals or their aspirations, they're not going to go to that event. They're going to be the types that are going to go to a networking event or, you know, some sort of conference or some sort of event where it's like in the theme of what it is that they're interested in. So for example, because you have Gemini in the 10th house, you could be interested in things like marketing, okay, or communications or PR. So you're going to be maybe interested in going to networking events that are connected to this because it's going to help you elevate and get to your end goal, wherever you're trying to go. May I ask what your Mercury placement is? You cannot even guess. Oh, usually I make people guess. Okay, let's see if you guys can guess, and then I'll tell you. If some of you guys know, don't tell the other people. I'll tell you guys after, though. I will. Let's see. Where are you guys? Or where was I, rather? Okay, so this is for Jayla. Hi, Jayla. You said, what do you think of Pisces rising / sun, first house, and Aries moon is in the first house? You're going to be super psychic, intuitive with moon in the first house. Moon in the first house gives you the undertone of having a Cancer rising. So you might attract a lot of Cancer rising people into your life. You're going to be very feeling based. Yeah, you're going to be very feeling based, very intuitive, very creative. You're going to be interested in the creative world, maybe even music. Pisces sun sometimes can have an absent father figure. So, you know, the father can be absent mentally, emotionally, or physically absent when the child is growing up. That can be something that takes place. Or there could even be like some sort of drugs or escapism when it comes to the father. There could even be some sort of alcohol going on, like alcoholism with Pisces sun. It's interesting because it's like you have the Aries moon in the first house, which is like internally you're wanting to go and you're wanting to go after things, but then you have Pisces occupying the first house overall, where it's kind of like it might be a struggle for you to start things. You might dream about it, you know, you might not even be sure of like who you are or what your identity is. You might get very enmeshed with other people. Okay, so that could be something that takes place. Okay, my sun sign is in Libra. Everyone guesses Gemini, Mercury. I don't have Gemini, Mercury, but okay, I'll give you guys a hint. It's close. It's in the same family. Let's see. What else are you guys saying in here? Neptune Aquarius in the 12th house. Actually, I have my Neptune videos coming up next week. So I'm going to have Neptune in the 12th house basically uploaded next week. But Neptune in the 12th house, I like Neptune in the 12th house. Okay, so the thing with Neptune, you guys, is like wherever you have Neptune, that area in your life is clouded. Okay, you don't see this area clearly. So the 12th house is Neptunian energy overall. So you might escape a lot through the mind. You might daydream a lot. You might pick up on like basically the collective unconscious. My recommendation for people who are 12th house people, Piscean people, people who are Neptune dominated, like for these people, do not do drugs, you know, anything that forces you out of body more, because it's like, it's gonna be harder for you to ground back into this reality. And it's kind of like when we're down here on the earth plane, like there's certain rules, you know, of how to operate down here. Like it's very Virgo-like, you know, but Neptune in the 12th house is going to be creative. You might be musically talented. You might be like very innovative, like you're connected to the other side, just like naturally, right? So it's all about taking all the information that you get and like grounding it in like a practical way. Virgo Mercury, no, I have, okay, my Mercury is in Libra. My Mercury is in Libra. Let's see, what else are you guys saying in here? Ices and Capricorn, okay, yes. Venus in Scorpio in the 7th house, very interesting. Venus and Scorpio. When it comes to relationships, you might be possessive. You might like find one person that you really like and you like want to hold on to that person forever. Venus in the 7th house. It's interesting that you have Scorpio in the 7th house because like relationships are just going to be a huge theme for you. If it's not romantic, it can be your friendships as well with Venus and Scorpio. Let's see, what else are you guys saying in here? You did not guess at all. Every Libra Mercury that you met has presented quite different traits. Yes, I get that a lot. I get that a lot. I'm Libra Sun, Libra Mercury, and my rising is in Libra as well. And everybody always says to me, they're like, you aren't like Libra, like really. But what's interesting is, you know, even before I got into astrology, people would say that to me. They'd be like, you don't act like the other Libras. But that's because I'm Scorpio dominant. And what I will say to you guys is a lot of my planets have progressed. So I'm Scorpio dominant. I have a Libra stellium, a Scorpio stellium. So all my Libra planets have gone into Scorpio, and a lot of my Scorpio planets have gone into Sagittarius now. So that's probably what it is. My Mercury is technically now progressed into Scorpio. So there's that. But yeah, my Mercury is in Libra and it's in the 12th house. So maybe that's also what adds a little bit of a different undertone. Let's see, what else you guys saying in here? I get Aquarius a lot. The energy that I get a lot from like when people guess, I get Gemini, I get Aquarius, and what is the other one? I get Taurus a lot too, which is interesting because it's like kind of related, but then not, you know, because like Taurus is the opposition to Scorpio, Gemini and Libra are kind of in the same category. I also get Virgo a lot, interestingly enough. Let's see what else you guys saying in here. So true, Pisces rising and Pisces 12th house moon, Neptune and Uranus 12th house, foggy and daydreaming. Yes, it's very hard for 12th house people. Like 12th house people like basically have to work harder to be here, to be present. Because if you think about it, like this earth plane, like I was saying earlier, it's very Virgo-like, you know, and Pisces is the oppositional energy to that. It's very redundant. It's very like, you know, get into a routine, do the same thing every day. And it's like, do that over and over and over again. And that's like a nightmare for like Piscean 12th house energy. It really is. Let's see what else you guys saying. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're talking about astrology and metaphysics, natal charts, and anything else you guys want to talk about, you can comment below as well. Vish says, Neptune in your 5th house, and you told that you're delusional when it comes to relationships. Yes, if you have Neptune in the 5th house, or if your 5th house is occupied by the sign of Pisces, yes, you definitely are going to romanticize relationships. You're probably going to want like a movie scene, you know, and it's like, what I will say for Neptune in the 5th house, a good outlet for this, because like this earth is like very different. A good outlet for this energy is to do something like acting or writing like novels and stories where it's like you kind of have an outlet for your dreams. You know, you like dream about certain types of relationships and like grand gestures, like the movies. You kind of want your relationship to be like a movie, you know? And it's like, if you are in a relationship, you might be dramatic also when it comes to that, because it's like you're kind of wanting that movie type of vibe. You could also be interested in screenwriting. Obviously depends on the rest of your natal chart, but that could be like a good outlet, you know, to take like this dream energy that you have when it comes to your relationships and like basically put it out there, because otherwise you're going to get dependent. Not dependent, oh my gosh, it's interesting, it's coming through as dependent. That might be a message for someone out there, but you could get disappointed is the word that I was looking for. You get very disappointed because Piscean energy, Neptunian energy, 12th house energy, you guys, there's always an energy of disappointment attached to these people. Oh my gosh, thank you, you guys, for the eye makeup comment. Thank you. You don't understand. I practiced this and someone asked me, they're like, can you do a tutorial? I'm like, me? Oh my gosh, like I practiced this so hard. So yes, I will definitely show off my tutorial one day. Okay, let's go back up. Where was I? Yes, we were talking about Neptune in the 5th house. Yes, definitely finding some sort of outlet for this dream that you have, because it's like sometimes these people can put it on the wrong people. Neptune in the 5th house can become like obsessed with like things like soulmates and like twin flames and like having that ideal dynamic. And sometimes even if you anchor it, it might not be how you dreamt of it, you know? That's why like these people have like disappointment energy attached to them. But you can be very, very creative. Let's see what else you guys saying here. Yes. That's how the Libra energy comes out. That's what I was going to say earlier. Okay, that's what I was going to say earlier. So I used to be super into fashion. So that's kind of how my Libra energy would basically get channeled. And like I always like to look nice, you know? So that's like the Libra vibes coming through. If your fifth house is empty, so you're going to have, okay, if you're looking at Placidus, it might not have a sign occupying the house, but usually there is a sign occupying the house. And if it doesn't have a sign occupying the house, then it could be intercepted. That could be something that's taking place. So it really depends as to what system you're looking at. But what I will say is, like, even if you don't have planets in the fifth house, it doesn't really mean anything. It kind of just means that you master that already in a past life. So it's not as much of a focus on in this lifetime. Soulmate, yes, you're disappointed when it comes to relationships. Yeah, Neptune in the fifth house is definitely a struggle. I'm just going to go back up to see if I missed anybody. Let's see. Okay, Van Miles Marion says you're a Libra, Sun, Mercury, and Mars in Libra, and people think you're in Aries. That can happen. Okay, that can actually happen sometimes, because it's like, okay, the thing is with like signs, you guys, sometimes like if the sign isn't being expressed, it can pull from the oppositional energy. So sometimes Libra people can come off Aries, like, because it's like you're pulling from the energy, from the oppositional energy. So that's something important to know as well. Let's see, what else are you guys seeing in here? You never really associated with Libra Mercuries based on observations. That's so funny. Let's see. But yeah, it's impressive because you're picking up on everything so quickly and speaking without getting tired. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. I get that a lot. I get Gemini Mercury a lot. I also get Virgo Mercury a lot. But if we look at Vedic, I'm technically a Virgo Mercury in Vedic. So maybe there's that. That's playing a part. Let's see. What else are you guys saying here? Just going back up. Okay, Pluto, fifth house. So this is the area that you're transforming through. So it can be through your inner child, your creativity. It could be through like leadership things, teaching, theatrics, being theatrical, doing like an improv class. Like these things could be very transformational for you, but also your children could be very transformational for you as well. That could be something that takes place as well for Pluto in the fifth house. What I will say for Pisces fifth house, for Ruby, if you're still in here, you could also have, okay, when you have Pisces in the fifth house, you could have children that are very like gifted, very like spiritually and psychically gifted. But what I was thinking about also to watch out for Pisces fifth house is like, again, keep the children away from substances and like these types of things, because Pisces is always going to be interested. Like Pisces 12th house Neptune is always going to want to know more about like the other realms and like these types of things. Like they're always going to have the natural curiosity and just pull to be out of body. So let's see, what else are you guys saying in here? Lisa Marie says you have Mercury and Sun in your fifth house and you are a Scorpio Sun. So the fifth house, having fifth house in there, you're here to express yourself creatively in one way, shape, or form. Okay, you basically have the inner desire to be seen as a creative individual. This can be on a huge range, okay, with Mercury and Sun in the fifth house. Children could play a huge part in your life when you have a lot of fifth house placements overall. Okay, so maybe through children you go through, maybe through children or your own children, you go through a lot of transformations when you have a lot of fifth house energy. Or it can just be your own inner child, or it can be like maybe you work with children, maybe you're like a daycare teacher, or maybe you're like an elementary school teacher. Like that's kind of like fifth house energy. It's like the inner child being expressed. Okay, and also with fifth house as well, it's like these people have to be seen. So it's like you kind of need to have a stage for yourself, okay? Something like this where you're talking and you're interacting and these types of things. Let's see. And it's interesting because you have, let me know if you have Scorpio in your fifth house. I'm kind of curious if you're still in here. Let's see, what else are you guys saying? You felt that you're Cancer rising and an Aquarius moon as well. Yes, the Aquarius moon also is going to want to be seen creatively. What I will say, okay, you have Scorpio in the fifth house. Very, very interesting. Scorpio in the fifth house when it comes to children. If you do have children, they're going to be like very like transformational for you, like if you have, oh, another person in here has Scorpio 5th house. Yeah, that's something that can take place. If you have children of your own, it can be very like transformational. It's interesting. I kept saying transformational. So it makes sense because you have Scorpio in the 5th house. So this experience could be very transformational for you, let's say when you have children. But what I will say also for Scorpio 5th house, like these children and you can like also have like ego battles as well. They can bring a lot of your shadows to the surface when you have Scorpio in the 5th house. They can be very intuitive children. That could be another thing. Another thing that I will say for Scorpio 5th house as well, something that I've noticed for these people is like these people might want to express themselves creatively, but not necessarily be physically seen. So that could be something that they struggle with because it's like the 5th house is pulling you to be creative, but Scorpio might want to hide. So this could be a karma that you might have to clear, you know, to actually be physically seen, to come out of the shell. It doesn't necessarily have to be that. Like maybe you can launch something where you are being creative and you're not physically in it, but it would probably be more beneficial for you if it's like you are in it, and no matter what it is that you're doing, even if you're acting or something of that sort. Scorpio in the 5th house can actually even be interested maybe in being a voice actor or actress. That's interesting that that's coming through. Let's see. Yay, I'm so glad you're learning so much. Yay, I'm glad that it's educational. What else are you guys saying in here? Van Miles Marion says, do you like Jupiter in the 7th house in Cancer? Do I like Jupiter in the 7th house in Cancer, but your 7th house has Gemini? I mean, this basically means that like you kind of feel like you have to be in a unit of some sort to basically bring through abundance. So it's kind of like maybe when you are in some sort of serious partnership, you're in some sort of relationship, even if it's like a best friend or something of that sort, like Jupiter in the 7th house, when they are in a unit, okay, because it's that 7th house energy, they feel more complete. And then in that way, you're like magnetizing more abundance to yourself. That could be something that takes place. Having your 7th house in Gemini overall, the types of people you might bring into your life can be people who are Gemini-like, chatty, intellectual, witty, funny, maybe even scattered, maybe inconsistent, maybe flaky, like these types of traits. Let's see what else you guys saying in here. This is so informative. Oh my God, you love learning more about placements that aren't your own. Thank you. That's awesome. Oh my gosh, thanks so much, you guys. Definitely check out my YouTube channel. It's called Barbara Talks. Let's see, what else are you guys saying in here? Let's see. How would both a 7th house and 12th house stellium impact someone? Example, does it show any significant themes, life path? Yes. So sometimes when I look at people's natal charts, and by the way, if anyone's interested in a natal chart, you can check it out on my website. It's going to be in the shop. If you're on TikTok, you can go in the link in my bio. If you are on my YouTube, you can go in the description box below. So sometimes when I look at natal charts and people are asking for careers, I basically look at like the combination of energies, right, in terms of the houses. So for example, when you have 7th house and the 12th house stellium going on in there, you're going to be clearing a lot of karma, but you're also going to be very creative and you're going to be very interested in like beautiful things because of the 7th house. You could also be interested in things like business as well with the 7th house energy as well. I'm curious to know what else you might have going on in your natal chart in terms of like the specific themes, but with the 12th house, you're clearing a lot of karma. With the 7th house, it's basically relationships are going to be important in your life, okay? So like, let's say with work, you could be interested in being creative. Let's say maybe doing interior design or things of this sort because of like the 12th house energy being creative, but also the 7th house energy wanting, you know, beautiful things and these types of things as well. Thanks so much for the rose. What else are you guys saying in here? Let's see. I'm just going back up. Scorpio 1st house. So having your Scorpio in the 1st house basically means you are a Scorpio rising. I have a whole video on Scorpio rising on my YouTube channel. I called it Expect the Unexpected because basically these people are going to be one way, but like, okay, the thing with Scorpio energy is like Scorpio has a little bit of an ego going on. All the fixed signs do, okay? It's not just Scorpio, but honestly, it's interesting because like people think that Leo out of all the signs kind of like I'm the best, but I feel like Scorpio thinks that they're actually the best. Like that's kind of the whole energy there. So when you have Scorpio in the 1st house, it's really revolving your identity. Like you really carry this energy within you. You might be intimidating to other people. You might know a lot of things. You're definitely going to be intuitive. You're going to be picking up on vibes. You're going to know what people are going to say even before they say it. You might kind of play around with people. You might kind of like, you know, be a certain way, but then switch up because it's like, this is what I mean by expect the unexpected. Because like Scorpio, this is the ego that Scorpio has. It's like, oh, you think I'm like that? No, I'm going to surprise you now on purpose. Sometimes you might want to trigger people on purpose. That could be a shadow trait of Scorpio energy. So something to watch out for, especially when you're underdeveloped, because it's like Scorpio is able to pull out shadows, right, of people. And it's like, they're so good with like timing and knowing what to say, when to say it. So people like, you know, really remember it. That's very much Scorpio in the first house. What others would you pull from a chart when looking into dominant themes? Just overall, like I would have to look at the overall natal chart, you know, like just to see what's going on. Sometimes people have like certain numbers that are like themes. For example, you have 7 and 12, right? That is kind of like the theme in terms of the houses. Maybe there's other numbers going on in there, and then it's like kind of based on the combinations, you can kind of see even more what's going on with this person, and maybe even, let's say, like career, what jobs you could do, and these types of things. Let's see. Yay, Lisa Marie. I'm glad that it resonated. Let's see. Capricorn 5th house for kids. Yeah. So you might have kids that are going to somehow elevate the status of the home. Okay. That could be something. Capricorn 5th house can also kind of be like, you know, they can be very traditional when it comes to kids. So they can kind of like have children for like traditional reasons, these types of things. They can take on like very Capricorn like traits. So they could be very like business minded, business oriented. These are a few things that can take place for Capricorn 5th house. I have a whole video on the 5th house and what kind of children you might have on my YouTube channel. I don't remember the exact title, but it's in my miscellaneous astrology playlist if you guys are interested in learning more. Let's see. Yes, so much relationship themes and like friendship trauma. Yes, that's the thing. So it's like, okay, this is the thing to understand with natal charts also. It's like sometimes people incarnate, like let's say they have an abundance of a certain energy in their natal chart. They basically come through to learn about that, to experience that. So for example, people who have a lot of 7th house energy are learning about friendships. They are learning about relationships. They are learning about what it means to be, let's say, in a long-term relationship or something of the sort. Let's say you have a lot of 1st house energy and maybe you don't have any 7th house energy. Well, in that situation, you already master that. You master the friendships aspect. You master the aspect of relationships. So there might not be as much of a focus on that for you in this lifetime. Your lifetime, if you have a lot of 1st house energy, can be all about the self, figuring out who you are. What do you like to do, you know? And it's like, we look at society, right? And there's a very specific trajectory for everyone to try to fit into. But then when you look at people's natal charts, it's like, there's a certain path for the soul, right? Like that's what I love about astrology, because you're like learning about the soul's path, and every soul's path is unique and it's different. I actually saw a post once. I wish I saved it. It basically said like out of all the combinations of like people's natal charts, like for it to like repeat, it was like some like wild like number. It's like 1 and like blah, 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 like this huge number. It's like very rare to have like the same configuration. Thanks so much for the likes and the follows, you guys. Let's see. I'm just going back up to answer you guys. Let's see, where was I? Pisces rising, 10th house Sagittarius, moon, both 17 degrees, sun and Mercury in Leo, career choices. Definitely working with the public, being creative in one way, shape, or form. Maybe you're musically talented. I'm curious to know because of the Pisces rising. Although Pisces rising doesn't really have to do much. They just naturally kind of have like a dreamy vibe and a dreamy energy to them. But it has to be something where you're moving in terms of career. You can't do something where you're sitting still. That's going to be a struggle. Or if you are sitting, you're going to have to talk. You know what I mean? Like you're going to have to be burning energy. That's the thing with like Leo and Sag. What I've noticed for people in terms of like their big threes, people who are in some sort of like, let's say, acting or political or anything that works with the public, it's usually Gemini, Sag, Leo, and Aquarius. Those are the ones that I've noticed. Now, obviously the combinations can vary, but yeah. What's my favorite Venus sign? Your favorite is Leo. I don't know, it depends. Like, are you asking for myself and like my life, or just in general for Venus signs? Let's see. What is going to bring Libra in the month of May? I haven't looked into that. I don't really look into predictive astrology too much. Israel says you have a 12th house stellium in the house of Leo. You feel so suppressed in your personality and expression. Yes, it's like, it's very karmic. So that's the thing. When you have like your 12th house and Leo is occupying this, it's like the desire is there to be seen, right? Because of Leo, but it's like the 12th house, it's like karmic. So you could spend the earlier part of your life maybe not knowing who you are, or just clearing a lot of karma, maybe trying a lot of different things, kind of like crossing things off a list. You could maybe be part of like the dance group for a while, and then you can maybe be into this other theater group and like these types of things, right? So it kind of depends what planets you have in the 12th house, because usually the earlier planets progress out of the 12th house. You kind of go out of the 12th into the first. Different planets progress at different times. The sun sign, if you live up until the age of 80, can potentially go through up until 4 progressions, but usually it's 3. The rising can also progress up until 4 progressions as well. The moon changes every 2 years. So with the moon, it's like you have the base personality, and then the progression is kind of like what's happening in your life during that time. Let's see what else you guys saying in here. Let's see. For your own life based on experiences. My favorite Venus sign. I do like Leo Venus. I also like Taurus Venus. I like Virgo Venus. I'm trying to think of what else. Yeah, I like those Venuses. I like the grounded Venuses. Capricorn Venus is good too, although they might be a little bit, worky. But yeah, for me personally, I like those combinations. Let's see, what else are you guys saying? I'm just going back up. Accurate for your Gemini placements. Yay, I'm so glad that resonated. Taurus, Sun, Aquarius, Moon, Cancer, Rising, Aries, Venus. Any thoughts or advice? So Taurus, Sun, Aquarius, Moon, Cancer, Rising, Aries, Venus, and Taurus, Mars. Very, very interesting. Cancer Rising, my advice is going to be definitely wait until after your Saturn return to get into like a marriage or something of that sort. Because Cancer Rising does tend to have changes in their relationships around their Saturn return. And Cancer Rising is always going to be looking for a traditional type of relationship from young. That's the whole thing, because your descendant is going to be in the sign of Capricorn. Aquarius Moon, definitely express yourself in terms of your ideas, even if it might be like, a struggle to actually feel like you're being heard, because that's sometimes a struggle for Aquarius Moon. It's like they kind of like share their ideas a little bit too early, and then they kind of shut off the throat chakra. But it's like the whole point here is to either write them down to get it out of basically your mind so you're not thinking about it all the time, and then figuring out when to pitch it, but still basically pitching your ideas, because you're going to be very, very creative because you're connected basically to the other side. Now, your ideas can be very much things to do with like innovation, technology. It can be the fashion industry, these types of things. Taurus Sun, you're going to be a hard worker. Aries Venus, basically it's all about you. Okay. It's all about going after things that you love. I call this placement the powerhouse, the Aries Venus, because it's like, it's all about you going after things that you want. And it's like, because it is that Aries energy, it's very good at bringing things through. Like, you're going to be very ambitious when you're young. And my advice for that placement is to basically see something through until the end, because Aries Venus starts, stops. Like, Aries is very good at starting things, but they struggle to actually continue. So it's good that you have Taurus Mars in there. Let's see what else you guys saying here. What else are you guys saying in here? Let's see. Investment into romantic relationships. Yes, that does happen with the 7th house. You're welcome, Bish. Let's see. What are your main or fave soulmate and twin flame, if you believe in that, indicators in synastry? Very interesting. For twin flame, there is a common like theme. What tends to happen, this isn't my favorite placement at all actually, but what tends to happen with twin flame is Venus squares Venus. That could be something that takes place. That could be something that's like a common theme. For soulmates, I like moon to moon. I like Venus conjunct Venus. Those are nice. Moon conjunct Venus is nice. I'm trying to think what else. Definitely stay away from moon to Mars conjunctions or squares or anything with moon and Mars. That's just going to be not like, it's going to be hard. It's going to be rough. Let's see what else you guys saying in here. How can a Taurus moon accept change? Yes, it's definitely challenging for Taurus to accept change because they are fixed energy. It is challenging. You might have to like force yourself to go through change, to learn to be okay with it, to learn to accept it, you know, force yourself to kind of go out of your comfort zone, to kind of get used to change. Because the thing is, like, the way the universe works is like, if it's time for you to change, it's going to kind of either give you the signs that it's like time for you to change your job, change whatever it is, your living space, like whatever it is, right? And it's like, if you don't listen to it, it might pull you out. And then it's like, it's harder, you know what I mean? When it's like not on your own terms. Let's see. What are signs that they are karmic? Good question. I would say anything to do with like South Node conjunctions, anything to do with like Saturn conjunctions, anything to do with like planets in their 8th house or even 12th house energy. Like definitely this Plutonian dynamics are definitely going to be karmic. So anything Pluto conjunct, Moon conjunct Pluto is going to be hardcore. Venus conjunct Pluto is going to be hardcore. Yeah, these Plutonian dynamics are going to be super, super hardcore. Let's see what else you guys saying in here. I'm just going back up. Let's see. Advantages of Jupiter and Venus in Virgo in the 7th house, both in detriment. Venus and Virgo in the 7th house. Venus and Virgo, yes, it is a struggle. But what I will say for this placement is like, you know, this placement basically tends to kind of like put their own needs on the back burner for relationships. Like they might be overgiving in dynamics. So just something to watch out for. Jupiter and Virgo in the 7th house, basically like when you're in a relationship of some sort, you can feel more complete. So you might be, you know, attracting more abundance to you because you feel like you're complete. Relationships are going to be a focus probably for you overall with Venus and Jupiter in the 7th house. Let's see what else you guys say in here. What else are you guys saying in here? Another thing with like karmic dynamics, what I will say to you guys is like, honestly, every dynamic is karmic in one way, shape, or form. Now, it can be smoother karma where it's like you're just kind of balancing something out. Maybe you have to say something inspirational to that person, like things like this, you know? Or it can be hardcore and intense. I find that a lot of the time when people refer to karma or just like karmic energy in general, they're kind of looking at like the negative aspects of karma, which yes, that is part of it. But overall karma is a balancing of energies. So it's like maybe in a past life, you bought a house for a person and in this lifetime, it's karmic debt, you know, for them to buy you a house or something of this sort, you know, things like this. What's my big 3? Let's see if you guys can guess. Okay, some of you guys in here know, do not tell the other people. Let's see if you guys can guess what the vibe is. I will tell you guys shortly of what my big 3 is. When would your Saturn return be? Usually between the age of 27 to 30 or 28 to 31. Depends on what your Saturn placement is. Libra rising, good job. Yes, I am a Libra rising. Scorpio sun, very, very interesting. I'm not a Scorpio sun. Libra sun, Gemini moon, Libra rising. Very, very good guess. Not a Gemini moon, but Libra sun, yes. I'm a Libra sun, Libra rising. Libra sun in the 12th house. Let's see if you guys can guess my moon sign. What else are you guys saying in here? Libra, Venus, what would you like to know about that if you're still in the room? Virgo moon, interesting. No, I have no Virgo placements in Western astrology. In Vedic, I do. Moon in Aquarius, I get that a lot. No, I'm not a moon in Aquarius. Leo moon. Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh, that's such a compliment. No, I'm not a Leo moon. I am a Scorpio moon. Yes, I have a Libra stellium. I also have a Scorpio stellium as well. You guys are guessing Gemini moon, Pisces moon. Yes, yes. So Libra sun in the 12th house, Libra rising, and I have Scorpio moon in the 1st house. Let's see. You have trumps. Is that natal chart? Gemini sun, Leo rising, Sag moon. You don't want to be saying things out of line. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. You could be a politician. You could also be interested in acting with that combination. Gemini sun, Leo rising, Sag moon. Yes, I do have a Scorpio stellium. I'm Scorpio dominant. So my dominants are Scorpio, Capricorn, and Cancer. That's my dominant energy. My dominant planets are Pluto, Saturn, and the moon. And then I have the stellium in Libra and Scorpio. Although I have progressed, you guys, I have progressed. So I'm in my secondary progressions. So for the person who guessed Scorpio sun, you weren't too far off because my sun has progressed into Scorpio. So has my rising. My moon is in Sag now. And yeah. Let's see. Not you having the same. Big 3 is Michael Jackson. That's so funny. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. You said you were thinking mercurial themes because of like entrepreneurial smart. Oh my gosh, thank you. That is a compliment. What else are you guys saying in here? You seem to be guessing my Vedic placements, not Western. Yes, people guess that a lot. I get Virgo a lot. My 12th house is in Virgo though, so you guys aren't too far off. I unconsciously behave like a Virgo, and I think when it comes to like what I consider to be like work, or just like things that I'm explaining, I come off Virgo like, because my whole thing is like, if you're gonna learn something, like learn it efficiently, you know what I mean, and do it properly. Otherwise, like don't do it. So that's the 12th house Virgo. So that's probably why a lot of people pick up on Virgo energy. I get Gemini a lot. I have a lot of 3rd house energy though. I do. I have a lot of 3rd house. And what was the other one? I get Aquarius a lot. Yes. And that one also makes sense because it's like I'm born on an 11 day, and that's Aquarius energy. So you guys aren't too far off. You're basically picking up on the energy. I do get Leo sometimes, occasionally. One of you guys guessed, I think, Leo moon. I've gotten Leo energy somewhere in the big 3. Sometimes I get that as well. It depends kind of like when you catch me, like, and what I'm doing. If I'm like talking with my hands a lot and things like that. Let's see. Thank you, Roxy Brown. Oh my gosh, that is so kind of you. Let's see. Let me go back up and see what else you guys saying in here. To have any tips for Sag moon, anything you can to understand your emotions. Yes. Okay. So the thing is, you guys, for Sagittarius moon, these people are always emotionally aligning themselves with freedom. Okay. That's the name of the game for them. So they need to be emotionally free. So that's like, they can't be in a job where they're feeling emotionally suffocated. They can't be in a relationship where they feel emotionally suffocated. And it's like, for these people, like if they're able to be in a dynamic where it's like the other partner allows them the space to be free, to leave and to come back to them, that's like an ideal dynamic for Sagittarius moon. Emotional freedom is the name of the game for you. That's Sagittarius moon. They are known to be the bachelors or the bachelorettes of the zodiac. Doesn't mean that these people aren't going to be in relationships. Sometimes they are in relationships later, I've noticed, but more often than not, like what tends to happen is they tend to find someone who understands this aspect of themselves, or they tend to find someone who is a travel buddy or something of the sort, like someone who they can go on adventures with and do fun things with, and like adrenaline and like all these types of things. That's Sagittarius moon. But the thing is, like, even let's say you do find like a travel buddy for Sag moon, it's like you still kind of need to have your own space from that person. That's what's important to understand for Sagittarius moon energy. You are always going to be interested in expressing yourself. Okay, that's the thing with Sagittarius energy. They need to be seen. Sometimes Sag moon can be interested in athletics even. That can be something that takes place. So that can be another thing for Sagittarius moon. But yeah, that's the whole thing. So on an emotional level, you need freedom. You could be interested in entrepreneurship because entrepreneurship can tie into freedom for you. That could be something that takes place. Traveling is going to be interesting for you. Moving around overall, you need to be moving. That's the thing for Sag moon. You're welcome. I've been streaming almost an hour now, a little bit over an hour. Let's see. Lilith in Libra, some explanation. Yes, 1 second. Okay, so Lilith in Libra, basically this is your dark side, okay? So you kind of have to look at the dark side of Libra. What is the dark side of Libra? It can be codependent, they can be afraid of being alone, they can always be looking for like a partner or a best friend, like that's Libra in the shadow. They can be very much non-confrontational, people-pleasing, these types of things. So that can be your dark side. Those can be traits that you might have to integrate and work on within yourself. You can struggle with going after things, or maybe like you can even struggle with like, you know, doing something on your own. You might be the type that's kind of like, oh, I always need a buddy with me, you know, every time I go to a place, or, you know, you might be the type of person that doesn't want to eat at a restaurant alone, because that's like Lilith in Libra. So you kind of look at the shadow of the particular sign. Let's see, modality. I like Western Placidus system. That's my favorite. It resonates the most for me. So that's why I teach it and I do my readings in that system. So if any of you are interested in astrology, definitely pick the system that resonates most with your natal chart. Let's see, what else are you guys saying in here? Seventh house sun. Yes, relationships are going to be very, very important for you. Okay, with the seventh house sun, a lot of your identity can be formed through relationships when you have the seventh house sun. What else are you guys saying in here? Lilith in the first house. So Lilith in the first house can be, okay, you have it in Aries and in the first house. So you kind of have to look at the shadow traits of Aries and the first house. You know, they always want to be the best. They always want to be number one. They can always think that they're right. That could be something that takes place. They can be kind of selfish, and dynamics and relationships in these types of things. So that can be something that takes place. Sometimes Aries, Lilith can like do whatever it takes to basically get to the top. Like, you know, if that means like throwing someone under the bus, like that can take place. So just being aware of these things. Let's see, what else are you guys saying in here? For someone who has moon at 29.59 degrees, how will this affect people for this eclipse? Wow. This eclipse overall, you guys, is like so hardcore. It's like so energetically hardcore. So you're probably going to be feeling it. I'm curious to know what sign you have at the 29.59 degree. That's so accurate. Are you 8th house dominant? You're the only creator who has spoken facts about the 8th house, telling people yes. Oh my gosh, shout out to you. Thank you for acknowledging. Definitely tell your friends and family to check out my 8th house playlist on YouTube, okay? Scorpio 8th house. Yes, I am. I am Scorpio dominant. So I know the energy very, very well. A lot of deep introspection. Okay, then Miles Marion says, is it the same for a Sagittarius rising, all you mentioned in the Sagittarius moon? Yes. The only difference is like the moon is the emotional world, okay? And the rising is going to be how you present yourself to the world and your identity as well. So it's like when you have Sag rising, you might have defined quads. You could be into athletics. You could be into running or like anything that basically involves like maybe soccer or something of that sort, okay? Sagittarius rising as well is going to be interested in adrenaline and all of these types of things. Yes, Diva Queen. Yes, yes, yes. It's definitely an interesting life. Scorpio, let's see. Let me just go back up. Okay, you said you have your moon is in Scorpio and it's at the 29th degree. Interesting. The eclipse right now is in Aries, so it might affect the cardinal signs more. But what I will say is you'll definitely feel the Taurus eclipse. And it's like, honestly, like the energy is kind of like already looming, you know? If you are like clairsentient or empathic in any type of way, like you're definitely feeling like the shifting happening, because that Taurus eclipse, which is next week, is gonna definitely be affecting the fixed signs. And because you have Scorpio moon, it'll affect your emotional world. What else, you guys? Do you guys have any other questions about your natal charts? You do feel it? Yeah, honestly, yeah, it is definitely hardcore. These eclipses, for whatever reason, I was saying this on my last live, like sometimes, honestly, when there's like high energies coming in, it kind of feels like a voltage. Like someone is like slowly turning up the dial, and it just like feels like very hardcore and intense. So yes, you'll definitely feel the eclipse next week as well. The Taurus one. I think that one, yeah, it's in Taurus. It's on the 5th, I think. Do you guys have any other questions about your natal charts or astrology? I will sign off soon. Indicators, yes, in a natal chart for abilities like clairvoyance, clairsentience, yes. Anything 12th house, 8th house, the 4th house, you're definitely going to have psychic gifts and abilities. Honestly, like it's all psychic intuition. It's just kind of categorized that way, I guess, based off of the senses. I feel like all water signs and placements are clairsentient in one way, shape, or form. They're all clairsentient. Aquarius also is very like intellectually psychic, so they can be claircognizant if you look at like the clairs. The 8th house and Scorpio energy can be mediums. They can have mediumship abilities. That's definitely another indication. You can have Neptune in the 3rd house, can be clairaudient. Okay, so they can hear things. Even maybe if you have Mercury and Pisces or Mercury in the 12th house, you could be clairaudient, or you could channel through speech. That can be another thing as well. When you have Mercury in the 12th house, any 12th house energy, and it's usually gifts passed over from a past life. The thing is, like, one of the reasons that 12th house people are intuitive, well, there's a few, but one of them is, well, let me give you guys two. One of them is that they've lived a lot of lifetimes on earth, so they have developed, okay, this sort of knowingness, like they tend to be old souls. That's one of them. But another thing also for 12th house people is like they tend to have spent a lot of time in isolation in past lives, okay? So they could have just been taken out of society for whatever reason, okay? So because of this, because they were taken out of society and they were with themselves, they kind of develop, right? The out-of-body energy, which is the psychic energy. You're basically leaving your body when you are psychic. Now, moon in the 1st house can also be definitely intuitive, psychic, because it gives you the undertone of Cancer rising. With that being said, Cancer rising can be intuitive, psychic, so can Pisces rising, all of the water signs, okay? Pisces rising, Scorpio moon, Pisces moon, Cancer moon, like they're all intuitive. Let's see. Venus at 0 degrees in Cancer in the 9th house. So Venus in Cancer, these people are always going to be looking for a home, okay, with their partners. So that's what's like a huge thing for Venus in Cancer. It's interesting, you have it in the 9th house, so you might meet your partner abroad, or you might kind of like have a partner that feels like home and you guys kind of travel around and you move around. That can be something that takes place. Cancer at like 0 degrees, like the Venus Cancer at 0 degrees, it's like it's the beginning of the sign, right? So it's kind of like, you know, like everything that is new and, you know, like naive about that sign, if that makes sense. So you could even be like even clingy when it comes to your relationships, or like you can really want to hold on to your partner when it comes to relationships. Let's see. I will answer your question. I'm just going in order. Let's see. How do you find real friends as an 8th house dominant person? You don't trust people. Yeah, it's definitely challenging, because even in the times that we're living in, I feel like just like humanity has just like fallen into just like such like a even like narcissistic type of energy. Like it doesn't mean that people are full-blown narcissists, but it's like there's definitely people who have their own agendas, their own ulterior motives, and 8th house people are going to pick up on all those things. So it definitely is challenging. And then it's like there's sometimes even jealousy vibes that you can pick up on, or just like, again, just like really picking up on people's ulterior motives. So yes, it can definitely be challenging to find real friends. What I will say is you might be interested in people who are also 8th house dominant, because a lot of the time I find like 8th house dominant Scorpio people are very real, because it's like they value this themselves. And it's like they are also very aware of energy, that like they know that like, you know, you can't hide, you know what I mean? Like energy doesn't lie. So it's like the 8th house person or the Scorpio person is going to pick up on this, you know, it's definitely a struggle. Let's see. Do I identify with having any psychic abilities? Yes. I am psychic and intuitive. Let's see. Indicators of gaining wealth through relationships in natal or synastry chart. In your own natal chart, wealth indicators can be Venus in the 2nd house, Venus in the 10th house, Venus in the 11th house, an abundance of 8th house and 2nd house energy overall, okay, can be wealth. With that being said, you could also have an abundance of 8th house energy overall. I said Venus in the 10th, so Jupiter in the 10th can also be abundance. Jupiter in the 8th can be abundance through a spouse, or it can be inheritances, these types of things. Although if you have an abundance of 8th house energy, I'm going to say definitely watch out for fast money, because these people, like, because they love money and they want fast money, they can sometimes go into like the quote unquote like lower forms of receiving money in the world. Okay, so everything that's like lower form in terms of like dealing drugs, gambling, opening casinos, like anything of that sort, that's Scorpio 8th house in the shadow. Okay, so just something to watch out for. Staying away from pyramid schemes if you have a lot of 8th house energy, like anything that's like get rich quick, like that is where you'll see maybe Scorpio or the 8th house person. Let's see, what else are you guys saying in here? How high are the chances of being wealthy and how high are the chances to be wealthy having Pluto in the 2nd, Jupiter in the 10th, and North Node in the 8th? Well, money is definitely always going to be on your mind. So everything that I just said is going to relate to you. With Pluto in the 2nd, the thing is like, you know, what I will suggest for Pluto in the 2nd is definitely learn investments, because you can really transform when it comes to money. But as fast as the money can come, it can also go. So it's like there's karma surrounding money. You know what I mean? So just like learning and like not falling into things like gambling, right? Or overindulging. That could be something, because it's like Pluto in the 2nd, it's like transformations, right? So you can have it, you cannot have it. You can have it, you cannot have it, you know? You're welcome. All right, I'm just going to answer this. So is Jupiter considered like a guardian angel when Mars is placed in the 8th house in the sign of Gemini? Interesting. I've never heard of Jupiter and guardian angel energy before. Very, very interesting. Jupiter in Libra. Hello, King Nushat. So Jupiter in Libra, you can basically bring through abundance through relationships. Okay, so it's like maybe when you are in a relationship, you feel more like expanded, you know, you feel happier. So because of this, you can bring more abundance into your life. That could be something that takes place when you have Jupiter in Libra. Okay. Also, you might be interested in things that are Libra-like. These things can also bring through abundance. So it can be things to do with beauty, makeup, fashion. It could be law. It could be justice. It's expanding this area for you. So you can basically bring through abundance in this way. Now, what I will say, because I did have a few questions about wealth and money and abundance, there's a few things that you guys can check in your natal charts when it comes to wealth and how to basically bring it through. So you can look at your Jupiter. That's one thing. You can look at your North Node. You can look at your midheaven. You can look at your second house overall. Okay. That's another thing that can also take place when you are basically looking to see how you can make money, what can activate abundance for you. You can look at your fortune. And then there's a lot of other things as well in your natal chart. What did you say? So hopefully you haven't overexhausted yourself. No, I haven't. Don't worry. Thank you guys. I'm going to sign off now. Thanks for being here. Check out my YouTube channel. It's called Barbara Talks. Okay. Have a beautiful rest of your evening.